Alright, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jess. I'm a holistic health coach and life coach. I am a homeschooling mom and homemaker, and I just kind of make these videos to bring you guys into our lives and do life together. I'm currently getting my notebook ready because I wrote some things down I want to talk about on today's video. We are setting out on my front porch. Hopefully the wind won't be too bad. I just wanted to do a little bit of a different video, more of a sit down chat video. And if you have already seen the title, you already know what it's about. We're going to talk about what led me to having a hysterectomy at age 35. And I know that can be a very controversial thing. I have heard many and multiple different opinions on, what people think about the fact that I had a hysterectomy. Obviously, when you put your life out there on social media in any capacity, people take that as an opportunity to give you their opinions and feedback and perspectives, and that's completely fine. So I've had a lot of opinions on whether or not I should have gotten a hysterectomy, and this video is not really in any response to those. I just want to share what led me to the point of getting a hysterectomy, why I felt like it was best for me, and my individual circumstances. So that's 100% of what I'm sharing. I'm not giving any medical advice or advice in any way. I am just sharing what led me, here comes the wind, what led me to get a hysterectomy at 35 years old, why I came to that decision, why I got to that point, and kind of everything that led up to that. So I've made a couple notes, so hopefully I can stay on topic for this video. But first thing is, the hysterectomy was my 11th major surgery. I've had lots of surgeries, lots of injuries, lots of health conditions that we are continuing to pray and speak against. I like to say I have been diagnosed with, not that I have these certain things, because I don't like to claim them. I believe I'm going to get better and the Lord's going to heal me from them in whatever capacity He chooses. So I don't really like to claim these issues and just give any life to them, because I feel like when we start saying, oh, I have this, I have that, it really gives a lot of life to it, and it can take control over us and become our identity. And a lot of people live in the identity of chronic illness, and that is not something I desire to do. I don't want to live with, I don't want to be the person that has these things, that is, I'm not these illnesses or sicknesses. I want to be the person that pushes through them and that, lives life. I want to be known for other things other than chronic illnesses, obviously. But so what led me to having a hysterectomy? This was not an easy decision. It was actually years worth of decisions and tests and going different routes to finally get to this one. But the underlying issues that I had, these were the issues, the symptoms that we were diving into and trying to get answers for. These were my symptoms, and I know symptoms of endometriosis and adenomyosis and other health conditions to do with women's health is very broad, and that's a big issue, is it's easily misdiagnosed because they are so broad. But these symptoms escalated drastically within the last 2, almost 3 years, to the point to where it was just absolutely insane. I suffered a lot through my pregnancy with my daughter. I'll get into that in a little bit. But postpartum with her, I had 2 major surgeries and was opened up abdominally to have my gallbladder removed, and I had pancreatitis and some other issues. And I really believe through my pregnancy and those postpartum issues that I had, it accelerated the issues that I had with my uterus and stuff. So also, this video is going to have a lot of information that may be sensitive to people, so be forewarned there also. So underlying issues that I had that eventually came to fruition with the diagnosis that I received. I had extremely bad, and I know people use this word like, oh, I have back pain. I had debilitating back pain, pelvic pain, hip pain, and leg pain, and to the point to where I was actually going to the hospital at times. At the time we would go by ambulance to the hospital because I would be completely immobile and doubled over in pain. I would be vomiting. I would be so sick. And we would get there and they would say, you know, oh, it's probably this, this, or this. And they would never actually check. Come to find out, those were probably ovarian cysts rupturing that was never like dove deeper into, is kind of what my OB doctor was thinking, is that those were probably cysts rupturing. And that's why I was so sick and in so much pain, but they were never being diagnosed properly. So terrible back, pelvis, hip, and leg pain, like that would radiate down my hamstrings into my calves. I would cramp to the point that I would vomit, and that was pretty excruciating. I would also cramp to the point that I would pass out. I passed out a lot. I passed out too much. It's probably not good how often I would faint. And these symptoms began within my cycle and then quickly escalated, and I'm going to share that in a minute. So passing out, I would run a fever when I would ovulate, and I would run a fever when I was on my cycle. It was always a super low grade fever, never really got above 100, but I would run a fever. I had gotten to where I could not stand up straight. I could not hold good posture because my lower abdomen would pull like very painfully. Something was in there. It was like something was pulling when I would try to stand up. So I was actually in physical therapy to release my hip flexors, but that kind of led me deeper into a endometriosis diagnosis. Um, horrible, horrible digestive issues. I'm not going to go into detail, just know all the things there. Um, I was having hormonal induced migraines and just really bad PMS. And these at first were inside of that cycle window. And after the birth of my daughter, I breastfed her for 17 months. And when my cycles came back at 6 months postpartum, these symptoms got to where it was 3 weeks out of the month, and I didn't really realize it at the time. I did not chalk it up to being anything menstrual or hormonal related at the time, but for 3 weeks out of the month I was miserable, very sick, was having all of these crazy issues, couldn't figure out what it was coming back to. And I didn't really realize that until my husband brought it up. My husband very kindly and very gently was like, you know, I don't think you realize it, but 3 weeks out of the month, you know, you're very sick. You know, things are not okay. Um, I had what's called unexplained or undiagnosed infertility with my first daughter, and then secondary infertility diagnosed with my before my second pregnancy. And the reason they called it undiagnosed was because they said they just couldn't find anything. They just couldn't figure anything out. My blood work was okay. All of my scans when I would have them done were okay, but they never looked for endometriosis or adenomyosis, nothing like that. It was always speculated, but it was just kind of like, you know, that's what they kept doing, the doctor that I had at the time. So it was undiagnosed infertility, and all of these symptoms, the infertility, everything ended up coming back to this one thing that took me so long to get diagnosed with. My first daughter is fixing to turn 10, so that was a long time, and it took us, I believe, 7 or 8 years to get pregnant with her, and then 7 or 8 years to get pregnant with our second daughter. So that just lets you know that level of infertility there. Things that I tried. So I had someone say, oh, I would not have had a hysterectomy. I would have got to the root of those issues. I would have figured out the symptoms and got to the root of the problem. Well, come to find out, the root of the problem was my uterus, and that is what needed to come out, because here are the things that I tried over the years before I went in to have a hysterectomy. I tried gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, carnivore, and not just for like, oh, I tried it for a couple weeks. Like, I was vegan for years. I have been gluten-free for years. I was dairy-free for years. I did, like I said, a carnivore diet. I tried everything, and nothing was helping with these symptoms. As far as herbal protocols and herbal remedies, natural medicine and all of that, I did the Barbara O'Neill protocol. I did wild yam cream, evening primrose black cohosh, ashwagandha. I did an adrenal fatigue protocol. I did multiple like herbal natural remedy protocols. At one point in time, my doctor said that I had all the markers for Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. I did a protocol with that. Did juice fasts, you name it. If there's a documentary for it on YouTube, I feel like I did it over the last 10 years. And then I got extremely desperate and I did a 6-month Western medicine protocol where I took interval something hormone therapy, where basically I took different levels of estrogen and progesterone at different times. The interval hormone therapy, I did medications that I can't even remember the names of. Prednisone was one. I did multiple medications to try to get rid of the symptoms, did birth control, did all the things, and did those for many months and nothing worked. I did get some benefits from just getting the extra hormones that I needed, but my grandmother has estrogen fed cancer, so that really started to worry me, the fact that that is obviously in my genetics in some way, and I was taking hormones. I couldn't do it anymore. I did not have peace about that anymore. So those are all the things that I tried. I tried the PCOS girly diets, all the tart cherry juice, the turmeric and curcumin, the beef liver, like I said, all of these different protocols, and tried them for many months, even years, and just it didn't help. It didn't give me relief. I actually am a yoga teacher, so did lots of yoga, meditation, breath work, inner work therapy, spiritual direction, red light therapy. I felt like I was doing everything right. Dry brushing, coconut oil, dandelion serums, all of this stuff, and it just wasn't working. My body has kind of been trashed the last couple years, and just for whatever reason, none of it worked. So the problem I got to was each medical protocol, whether it be holistic or Western medicine, takes months to see if it's working. Like, you have to, one of the protocols I did, I would go check in every 3 months. Okay, 3 months it's not working, let's adjust this. 3 months it's not working, adjust this. And there was just so many months of it's not working, and I had really became depressed and discussed that with my doctor. Of course, they offered me antidepressants, and I took those for a year. I took antidepressants for a year because I did not know what to do. I was completely mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually exhausted. I had no clue what to do. I was also postpartum and very much struggling. I also done what's called a depletion diet, where it's like the reverse of a depletion. Basically, you give your body all of the nutrients back that you lose during childbirth. So I did that, and I felt better, but I had also had pancreatitis, had my gallbladder removed. I had severe gastritis, really bad hiatal hernia. I was on lots of antibiotics and prednisone and IV antibiotics and oral antibiotics, and I just was not getting better. I did all of this intense stuff for right around 2 years maybe. And also in that, they tried to give me a diagnosis of polycystic ovarian syndrome, Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. They suspected endometriosis and adenomyosis, but nobody was really willing to do anything else just besides give me more hormones and more medication. So I felt like I wasn't getting relief. I also went through physical therapy, actual physical pelvic floor therapy, and was doing massage therapy, and those two things changed the game for me. I was in physical therapy, and the lady was working within my hips and pelvis, and she said, "You have so much scar tissue." She actually asked me if I had ever broken my hip, and I said, "No, I've never broken my pelvis or my hip or anything like that." And she said, "You have so much scar tissue in there, it's insane, something is going on." So a couple weeks later, I was getting a massage, and the lady that was doing the massage was working in my pelvis, and she said, "You have all this scar tissue in your pelvis. Like, everything just feels strange." So I thought, okay, we need to move forward. They both mentioned endometriosis, so I said, let's go get this checked out. So went to the doctor, had internal and external sonograms. I had a CT, an MRI, and saw 4 different doctors, and they were all leading to the same thing. um, I actually saw my spinal doctor too, because I thought at first it was just really bad back pain, and I started charting it, started keeping up with it at this time. All of these doctor's appointments were like months apart, but I started charting it and realizing so much was related to my cycle. So much was going on during, like, menstruation and ovulation in my luteal phase. Like, all of it was just really starting to sync up and make sense that it was something related to my cycle and to my uterine health, I guess. um my spinal doctor kept telling me, oh, it's just arthritis, like you have really bad arthritis. I've already had one spinal surgery, so he said it's just, osteoarthritis. I see it in your scans, that's what it is. But I didn't have peace with that, because I thought people live with osteoarthritis and live full, happy, healthy lives, and here I am, I'm 35 years old, and I'm almost completely immobile at this point. I can't bend over and tie my shoes. I can't pick anything up off the floor because my pelvis felt like it was locked up. And I was in physical therapy, and I was getting massages, and I felt like I was doing all the things, anti-inflammatory protocols, anti-inflammatory diets and supplements, and there was just, I didn't know what else to do. So they told me that I had chronic inflammation. They diagnosed me with a couple autoimmune issues, which, like I said, I'm not claiming those. We're gonna get it figured out. But when I saw this last doctor, I had been to, like I said, 4 previous doctors, and they all kept saying, we feel like this could be endometriosis, but we want you to try this medication. We think this could be, adenomyosis and endometriosis, but we want you to try this medication. And I got to the point one morning where when I woke up, I physically could not stand up. I was taking round the clock ibuprofen and Tylenol for years, so I knew that was causing havoc to my insides, and I couldn't stand up. I had to call my mother-in-law to come watch the girls, and I said, I can't deal with this anymore. I can't keep taking and trying different medications. The quality of my life over the last 2 years had plummeted. I just could not function. I could not function, and I could not live like that anymore, and I refused to do so just for the sake of saying I tried it a natural way, and it wasn't working. I have no other answers except it wasn't working. And I know people are probably screaming behind the screen that I didn't give it enough time, but this was years worth of time, and at the point I was at, it was time for next steps. So I went and saw a new doctor, and we were there for 5.5 hours. He walked into the room after all my tests and scans, and he literally walked into the room and he looked at me. He shook my hand, shook my husband's hand, and he said, baby girl, this is too much. You should not continue to deal with this. You should not be feeling like this anymore. He did an internal sonogram. He inserted the sonogram and immediately removed it. He said, I know exactly what we're dealing with. We're going to get this taken care of. He said, you can't live like this. And I broke down. I just immediately started crying in his office because I felt like I was being heard in that moment, because of how sick I was, and I really felt like he understood. And he said, can the Lord heal you of this miraculously and instantly? He absolutely can. But he said the Lord has also blessed me with the ability to help in these instances and help in these circumstances. So he sat there and he talked to me and my husband for over an hour. We discussed all the ins and outs of what a hysterectomy would look like. He said with the adenomyosis and with everything that he could see, he said it would be impossible for me to have children. I said, well, I've already got 2, and he could not believe it. He said, that is a just unbelievable miracle, the fact that you have any children, let alone 2. And he said, what do you feel about more kids? And I said, I'm done. I said, I don't feel like we need to carry on trying to get pregnant anymore. because, like I said, it was a 7 or 8 year age gap between the girls, and then it took me 7 or 8 years to get pregnant with Sky. So I did not feel like my body could successfully carry another baby. I have had several miscarriages also, so I know my body already kind of struggles to carry for whatever reason. At the time, I didn't know why I was struggling, but I felt like physically the Lord was saying, it's time. Like it was just confirmation after confirmation that I needed to up the quality of my life, live for the children that I have now, live for my husband now, and live for myself now, and be better for all of us now. And so we discussed having a hysterectomy, and he was ready to do it as soon as possible. We had to put it off a couple weeks, but everything was a success. I've shared that on here multiple times. We have seen multiple miracles because when I went in, all of my tests and scans and everything, they just did not look good. And he planned on me doing the surgery and then coming out and doing a couple months worth of treatment. He said even up to a couple years worth of treatment after he performed the surgery and I had all of my pathology and everything done. He said he in no way felt like that was necessary. He said that it was an absolute miracle and that the Lord's favor was on my life, and I have no doubts about that because the Lord has continued to bless us and has proven time and time again his faithfulness through each and every surgery that I've had. There's been so many instances just with my health in general. The world has said one thing and doctors have said one thing, and then God does something completely different, and that has been proven time and time again. I can't explain it. I don't know why, but I know that it has to be something supernatural at this point because it's happened over and over again. And just the fact that I have 2 children when I shouldn't have any children, that in itself is a miracle. It's a miracle. It's really just his favor upon my life for whatever reason that he sees fit. I don't understand it, but I have been told I wouldn't be able to walk normally without assistance. I did triathlons, and I guess that was the biggest issue going into all of this that people have not seen is I was living a super healthy, active life. I was doing triathlons. I was doing 24-hour duathlons. I was running all the time. I was super active, teaching yoga twice a day most days. And it was like the brakes were hit and my world stopped. And he believes that for whatever reason, the pregnancy and the postpartum, the influx of the different hormones accelerated my condition really rapidly, and that's why it became such an issue so quickly. And the reason he thinks that partly is because during my pregnancy with Indy, our second daughter, I started bleeding at 6 weeks with her, and I actually bled all the way up to 27 weeks with her. Multiple times was put in labor and delivery for bleeding. They could not figure out why I was bleeding, where the blood was coming from, because it wasn't actually coming from the uterus itself. But my doctor now that I have believes that that was part of the endometrial tissue or something along those lines. Um, but after just all of that, my health drastically plummeted, and just I needed to take the necessary steps to get my life back, because it wasn't like I came from this, super sick, lethargic season of life. Like I was very active, very healthy, and then it was like something changed within my body. Something happened within my body, and I had never had gallbladder issues. I had to have my gallbladder removed. It completely just tried to take out my pancreas, tried to take out my liver, and then I had gastritis. Like I said, I had all the infection inside of my body after giving birth to her, and just, I don't know what happened, but something happened, and it just started taking out organ by organ. I've had my appendix removed, my gallbladder removed, and now my uterus, my cervix, my fallopian tubes removed. And we're getting to the point where they can't remove much more, so they've kind of taken out everything that could cause issues at this point. But I can see healing happening every day. I'm becoming more mobile every day. I have lost 25 pounds and a little over 25 inches, and I know most of that is from inflammation. I am 7 weeks, 7 weeks post-op from the hysterectomy, and I'm getting better every day, and I'm claiming healing every day, and the Lord is just walking with me through all of it. So that is my story. That is why I had a hysterectomy at 35 years old. Like I said, I know I felt like I needed to justify it, but I wanted to share my story. I wanted to share my why and what led me up to that decision, and maybe it can encourage some other women out there to, help you to push and feel seen by your doctor, to encourage you that you're not alone in whatever you're going through. And I just wanted to share that. I'm so grateful each and every day for my life. Every morning I wake up and I just pray and thank the Lord for another sunrise, for another beautiful day, another day to move my body and walk in healing and take the necessary steps to continue to heal and thrive and get out of a mentality of just surviving, because that is where I have been. Nobody likes to talk about those things, but that is where I have been over the last, I thought I saw a child. I have been in such a season of surviving. I am ready to thrive, and I'm ready to move forward with whatever the Lord has for me. And that's what we're doing. But I thank you for joining me for this video. It's a little bit of a different style, but just wanted to share that. Hit that like and subscribe button as we do life together, and I can't wait to just share more of what the Lord's revealing in this new season. Just moving forward in a mentality of thriving and just being saturated with His love. But as always, thank you guys. I appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next one.